Hello and welcome to the Draft Talk podcast. Here on the Draft Talk podcast, we are, as always, talking all things NFL draft. I'm your host today, Brian, and as ever, I'm joined by two of the best, my friend and yours, Owen and Stu. How are you doing, guys?
Very good, Brian. This episode is always one of the type of episodes I love doing. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we know that we're properly into draft season now, aren't we? If we're talking mock drafts, and it's a time of year where people who haven't been that interested in the draft, maybe their team isn't as good as they thought they were, they start looking at mock drafts, they start looking at rankings, and this is where we're coming to our own. So yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Absolutely. You may have got the hint if you listened to us last week, which of course you did. That's right. We're going to do our very first mock draft. Some may say it's far too early. And to those I say, that's no fun. Get involved. We're going to do it anyway. So, yeah, without further ado, we're going to mock our way through the first round, taking it in turns as always. Stu, you're going to kick us off. I'll go next, then Owen. So, with the first pick of the 2024 NFL draft, Stu, who you got to pick?
We're going to start off with the Chicago Bears, which is obviously the pick that they inherited from the Carolina Panthers in the trade last year. I think that the Bears may well blow it up in the summer. I think that the new GM, potentially new head coach, that often signals new quarterback, doesn't it? So I'm going to say that I think Justin Fields might be on his way out there as well. So we're going to go with a quarterback but for me, I'm going to pick at number one, Drake Maye, the quarterback from North Carolina. Owen is having a bit of an ooh moment there. For me, I think that the Bears may want to go in a different direction. Justin Fields was a highly athletic player coming out of college, a bit of an unconventional quarterback. I wouldn't say he was a prototype. I think Drake Maye is a bit more of that type of person. He's a really good passer. He's also got plenty of movement skills. I think that he is continuing to do very well this season. He's done his draft stock no harm. So I think that just for a change of direction, I think that could be in play for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally, I would be taking Caleb Williams, but it's good to, I suppose, play out a different scenario, right? That every mock draft's going to have Caleb Williams going number one. So why not? Let's do something different. And obviously, a trade is potentially in play as well. So, we're not doing trades in this. So who knows what they'll be able to get for Justin Fields. That could end up in a first, or it could, collectively earn them that much in draft capital. And obviously, they have the second pick as well. So they've got plenty of options and plenty of capital to work with. But yeah, if they are drafting this early, they absolutely have to press the reset button, because then Matt Eberflus isn't going to be the head coach there anymore. Ryan Pauls might just cling on as GM. So yeah, they would have to blow the thing up and start from scratch. But they've got some pieces there to do it. So it wouldn't be, I'm the draft capital. So yeah, I think it would be a good decision.
There we go. Didn't see that come in. But yeah, a bit of a surprise, yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. And look, we'll if the Bears do end up with the top two picks, there'll be hours of conversation about what they should do and what they might do. So yeah, I'm up at number two, also with the Bears, their actual pick. Be nice. I don't know if anyone's had number one and number two before, but yeah, if they go with the quarterback first, I think they go Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver, pair them together. In theory, it works out for a decade plus. And you've got two of the best players in this year's draft. Who knows what the Bears will do? But yeah, I think they go quarterback first. It'd be nice to put him with potentially one of the best receivers in the league.
Yeah, I think that we've talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, and we've seen quarterbacks who've done well early in their NFL career. They've had that go-to player. Marvin Harrison certainly could be that. In this scenario, we've got Drake Maye, but Caleb Williams, as we said, could be that player in play as well. Marvin Harrison will be a true wide receiver one. And we look what teams have done with wide receiver ones. You look at Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase. Tua, now that he's got Tyreek Hill, those connections of players are really, really important. And the Chicago Bears don't have that true wide receiver one, I would say, at the moment. I think, they've obviously
what
got
a room that becomes if you add
absolutely.
Marvin Harrison to it. You've got DJ Moore there.
He's a great number
really,
two. I'd say he's a fantastic number. He'd be the best or one of the best number twos in the league.
What a great scenario for a rookie quarterback to go to in terms of weapons. I mean, the line's still a little bit dodgy, but you couldn't really ask for two better weapons to start with.
Which leads us to the Broncos. Owen, you're picking number 3.
Yeah, and I'm quite pleased how this worked out, really. Guess where this is going? So, Russell Wilson, it's just not working, is it? And Sean Payton has not hid from saying that he thinks Caleb Williams is the real deal. I don't know if you've seen the clip that's done the rounds from a while back where he was on the Colin Cowherd show. And he was talking about how he thought Caleb Williams was a player who was worthy of tanking for, and it could mean that the NFL has to adopt a lottery style draft because there could be multiple teams trying to lose for Caleb Williams. Interesting clip to bring up while Caleb Williams is on the board. Russell Wilson, huge cap hit, and it's going to take some type of magician to negate some of that cap capital that there's going to have to be forgiven. But I don't think Russell Wilson stops you from potentially getting your future franchise quarterback at the moment. And if there's one there, you take him. For me, there is. The Broncos take Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC.
Yeah, I think as well, you mentioned about that cap hit. I think the only way you can really deal with that cap hit is by having a rookie quarterback as well, because that's going to be the cheapest option that you're ever going to get to play the position. So if you've got an appropriate option, that then is going to be the time to just remove Russell Wilson. You're not going to move him on and take a cap hit and then bring in a veteran who you're going to pay 10, 12, 15, 18 million dollars a season, whatever it is they're going to command these days. So it has to be a rookie if you're going to go down that route. Caleb Williams on the board, Sean Payton loving him, totally makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's just one of those where the draft is about getting better. You can't. People will sit there and say, the cap and what they gave up for Russell Wilson was too much. There's no way they could even think about it. Well, ultimately they're going to have to if they're drafting at number 3. Something's gone terribly wrong. 2 seasons on the bounce because they would have had the number 5 pick last year, right? So something, you don't double down, try and dig your way out of the hole, and Caleb Williams would be a good place to start.
Absolutely. Number 4, Cardinals. Stu, back to you.
Yeah, so Arizona Cardinals, if either of the 2 quarterbacks we'd had on the board were there, that would have been a really tempting option. But I don't think there's a quarterback on the board worth blowing up what they've invested in Kyler Murray at the moment. So if you're not going to get rid of Kyler Murray, what you want to do is protect and look after Kyler Murray. And for me, I would select in this situation of the players that's available, Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame. I think with him coming in and having such a good year, he's just a rock steady NFL ready type player. And you've got Paris Johnson at the other tackle. You can figure out which configuration that's going to be the best for them, but that's going to give them 2 really good, young, cheap offensive tackles to help look after Kyler Murray. So that's where I'm going, Joe Alt.
Interesting, you've gone Alt over Fashanu.
Yeah, I mean, I think that where the Cardinals are at the moment, they need someone ready to play. I think that Fashanu has probably more traits, but they've got a really traitsy guy in Paris Johnson there as well. I'm not sure that I would go for those. I mean, they've still got DJ Humphrey there, but how much longer is he going to be around for? I would rather go where you've got what you're getting with Alt. I think there's just a little bit. It's not concerns for Fashanu. I think that he's got all the tools, but with, as I say, with toolsy guys, you're going to have one on bookend. Alt just felt a safer option, I think.
Good. So if that's myself, then next 5 picking for the Giants. Let's think. Yeah, I think they'll take Fashanu just because their offensive line is awful. I don't know much about these guys yet as you guys do, but yeah, having watched a couple of their games, that's a big need for them, and I mean, yeah, let's do that.
I think as a Cowboys fan, I thought you would quite happy to leave their offensive line as is. It makes sense.
Gotta give him a chance, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Neal, is he rescuable? Is a big question that they've got to have, because he's been.
I guess you slot him in at guard,
really
right?
poor. You would, yeah. I mean, if
You
you
have
move
to.
him in one, you can move him in one and see how he gets on. But I think that is going to be the only way he's right, because Andrew Thomas he's been very good after his shaky start, so you're not going to shift him. So, Fashanu, yeah, they need to do something in that offensive line. It's been just a bit of a disaster, hasn't it?
Okay. Oh, and the Patriots, number 6. Off you go.
Yeah, difficult one, because again, one of those where I'd like to be in play for one of the top 2 quarterbacks here, because I think Mac Jones has proven to this point that he's not the guy, he's not the future. But the problem is there someone that you want to bank your future on at number 6? I think that they would like Michael Penix. I think that they would like Bo Nix as well. I'm just wondering if it is slightly too early for them. And the guy that I would be thinking about at this point could be JJ McCarthy, but I'm not sure if he currently would be their style. And I guess this all comes down to, would Bill Belichick be the head coach? Would there be a new GM if he isn't the head coach? Because he's obviously both. So I guess you've got to take it under the current circumstances, right? I'd be tempted by tackle as well, but the top 2 guys have gone there. Trent Brown's contract expires this year, so I'd have been tempted by them. But I think you would have to take a quarterback. And given how the season's gone so far, I'll give him Michael Penix Jr. from Washington. It is incredibly early, but he has been fantastic so far this season. The injuries are obviously a huge, huge worry. And it's difficult at this point to know whose board he'll be on and whose board he won't. But let's give him some credit. We'll go Michael Penix Jr.
That's really interesting, because you've absolutely gazumped me on who I was going to pick next for the Vikings. I really like the idea of the accuracy of Michael Penix marrying up with Justin Jefferson. I think that would be a really good starting point for him, having that receiver that he just had, that go-to guy, give him that confidence. Yeah, it does feel high, doesn't it? But
yeah,
quarterbacks will always go high, and the Patriots are in quarterback purgatory if they don't do something. Mac Jones has shown that he just isn't the guy to take this franchise forward unless there is dramatic changes around him. And I think that would require a whole squad overhaul, which you're just not going to be able to do in 1-2 windows that he's got left on his contract.
The squad isn't that bad. It doesn't need a whole overhaul. But then, if you think about, they're desperate for skill positions, but you can't take a receiver knowing that Mac Jones is going to be your quarterback next year. So it's just a way of marrying up. You'll be able to find productive wide receivers later on in the draft because it's a good class, and you'll be able to pick some up in free agency as they have been doing. But quarterback's a big question, and he's going to be older, but Michael Penix could well be the answer.
So that leaves me move coming on, I think, to the Vikings. Sorry, Brian, I've interrupted you talking about the Vikings. So yeah, Penix was who I was going to pick if Owen hadn't picked him there, because I think that they do need a quarterback. But so I'm going to pivot off of quarterback at the moment. I think that they may do something as a placeholder if this was a scenario, if Kirk Cousins isn't going to stay around. I think that they really struggle to get after the quarterback at the moment. And they've struggled to get pressure. Daniil Hunter is not getting any younger, so edge is really where I think that would be a viable option for them. And there's a few names we've talked about in recent podcasts, but I'm going to go back to the player that I think has the highest ceiling and has been the best player over the last couple of years, and that's Jared Verse from Florida State. He's maybe not been as good this year, but he is getting a lot of attention. We have talked about Latu. I just, again, the medical concerns, and would that throw him off some people's boards? The fact that he has been medically retired previously. So Jared Verse for me is where I'm going to go for Minnesota.
Makes you think if we maybe have stopped talking about him and one of those that you then circle back on, that we spoke about him so much last year. We speak about prospect fatigue every year, but it does make you wonder that he was never going to be as good as he was last year because of how immense he was. And to have expected the same, it was just never going to happen. So it makes me think: are we overlooking him at this point, just to try and, as we're figuring it out? But there's no reason why Verse can't stick as edge one.
We always like to bring new names to it, don't we? There's always, I found this next best guy. He's just awesome, and sack the old guy who's been around for a bit. So yeah, again, I've just kind of come back around onto Verse for that one, and I think that that is a position of need for Minnesota, and I wasn't quite ready to pull the trigger on any of the other quarterbacks just quite yet.
Like it. Onto my background to me. Pick number 8 with the Titans, another team that are sort of like, what do you do at quarterback? They're not, but they missed the top. No, I don't think they were quite yet.
They'll go second, third round, just every year.
Yeah, but you see, it'll be interesting to see these quarterbacks. They'll get picks early, but I don't know, the Titans. They've been sort of semi rebuilding for a couple of years now. What they got to do? Let's go offensive line. J.C. Layden from Alabama. I'm not sure what to do here. And I think the Titans are one of them. They always seem to come good towards the end of the season. Will that happen again? What are they going to do with Derrick Henry and Tannehill? They could both still be around. They could both be gone. But yeah, for now, I'll stick with a tackle from Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line hasn't been
great.
Some
help. Yeah.
They do need some help. I mean, they drafted Skoronski last year, who's been playing at guard. But when you look at the depth chart, Andre Dillard's a starting left tackle. Do you trust him? They had Petit Frere. He's kind of gone in and out of the lineup as well. And beyond that, Dylan Radunz is still kind of hanging around. Jalen Duncan. But are any of these guys making big waves at the moment? If you're not making big waves, you constantly want to just keep getting someone in the offensive line till you have that offensive line. So it makes sense for the Titans.
Titans, back to you. All right, pick number 9, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and another team where I think we might be sticking along the offensive line, and I don't think they'd be too happy that the 3 have already gone. But I think that it's going to be a position of need for them, and they do like to draft in the trenches in the first round. Bakhtiari looks like he's done for the season with the cartilage issue, and even if he was healthy, I think they would probably be looking at moving on, because he enters the final year of his contract in 2024 and has a massive cap hit. And if they move off him, they trade him, they'll be able to recover a lot of that cap. So I do think they would attack the offensive line. Now it's just a question of where do you go from here. So there's guys that I like. Amarius Mims comes to mind. I think he's a very good player. Spoke about him a lot in preseason about how much potential he's got, but he's been injured and he's day to day, so who knows when he's going to come back. I think they would have picked the 3 that have gone, so Alt, Fashanu and Latham. I think they would have took all of them. But the direction we're going to go is someone that we spoke about last week, and we're going to take Talise Fuaga, the right tackle from Oregon State. Okay, he's a right tackle. Could he play left? I would need to dig more into him, I suppose. But they're playing with Zach Tom at right tackle at the moment, who I think has been serviceable, but I don't think he stops you from improving at that position. So we're going to take a player that we've been high on early and give credit to Stu on that, but we're going to take Talise Fuaga at 9 to the Packers.
Yeah, I think he would fast become a big friend of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. They have got good running backs, but although it hasn't really worked this year, they have the potential to run the ball very well. Aaron Jones has been out. They've paid him a lot of money, so he's going to be sticking around. I think that run game would be immensely improved if you added Fuaga on that right-hand side.
Absolutely. Next up, number 10, Chargers. Stu, take it away.
Chargers are that's the one team I didn't want to get. I don't like the Chargers. Not that I don't like the Chargers. I just find them a difficult team to work out what you want to do. There is a lot of options, however. I think that they could use some help at cornerback. I think that's a position that they could look at. I think the defensive interior, but again, is that just a little bit early for me for defensive interior? I don't know. They give up a lot of points, so at this point, I'm going to try and make them score even more points. So I'm going to give them another weapon for Justin Herbert. I'm going to go Brock Bowers, tight end. They haven't really replaced Antonio Gates when you think about it at tight end. They've not had that player that they're going to throw the ball to on a regular basis. So some of the wide receivers, they're always banged up. They're always hurt. They've drafted Quinton Johnson, haven't really seen the best of him yet. So let's give Justin Herbert someone else to throw the ball to.
Oh, I like it. The what's his face? No, Parham had a good game on Monday night. But yeah, you're right. If you can get especially sort of someone at that level, that'll certainly help. Next up is me at 11.
Sorry, Ryan, just to write in there that we think Brock Bowers is now done for the season, don't we?
Well,
how much does that impact him, do you think?
I'm seeing reports that it could be 4 to 6 weeks, which is
taking
a bit longer.
Maybe playoffs.
But if they're in the playoffs, he might play. But does Brock Bowers shut himself down? Is the thought? Because what's he really, apart from winning a national championship, which, you know, when you're at Georgia, is it the big draw that some of the other players? Yeah, you know, I mean, that's why one of the reasons Verse came back, wasn't it? He wanted to win a national championship. But Bowers,
I guess he's played, so he would be classed as.
Yeah, is it the big lure that I've got to win a national championship? He's already won 2. Does he just shut himself down and focus on the draft? A high ankle surgery, I think, is something that they say 4 to 6 weeks. I think it will be a lot longer before it's properly healed and properly dealt with. Does it affect his draft stock? I don't really think so. I think teams know what they're going to get if they get Brock Bowers. With a good bit of rest, draft workout, I think it should be okay for him.
There you go. And that's from Dr. Stu as well, so you know it's legit. But yes, myself now with the Saints at 11. And I think I'm going to take, well, the best player looking at the boards I'm looking at, and that's Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama. I keep picking Alabama players. I don't know if that's a huge need for them, but I think they're at that point in the draft now where, you know, maybe they could do with, I don't know, maybe a tackle. The best few of them gone. I think at that stage of the draft where you're just picking off, right? There's some really nice, good players here that I'm getting pretty good value at. So that's where the Saints go.
They do like drafting along the defensive line, don't they? They just keep doing it.
Yeah, they're the kind of team that if there's not an offensive lineman that they want, they'll take a defensive lineman and vice versa. They have done that consistently and got big names, big players in there, and try to use their capital in the trenches. Unlike some other teams, but like some other teams as well, the Saints, they tend to go back to what is sensible in a draft. And yeah, Dallas Turner as an edge player is someone who fits that bill.
There we go. Number 12. Somehow, Owen, who did the order, he's picking for his Chargers.
But that's not
Chargers. Sorry, Falcons. Sorry, that was miles away. Falcons.
Yeah, so I had kind
What's
of.
What's the best skill player on the board?
I fiddled the draft order, so I didn't get the Falcons first time around. And that serves me right for getting the draft order wrong, because when I've redone it, I've somehow ended up getting the Falcons. Right, 10-minute rant incoming. I don't bloody know. Look, Desmond Ridder's not the future, is he? He's been pretty dreadful throughout the season. He's had about 2 plays which are decent. The rest of them have practically been turnovers at this point. I think at this point they might target a veteran. So I'm thinking I would not be surprised at all if Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback of the Falcons next year. If it's not him, it could potentially be Ryan Tannehill. If that happens, but I'm tempted by JG McCarthy here. I also think that they need another. If they're going to, look at how the offense has been this season. That outside of Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they've got nothing in the. And Bijan Robinson, I guess they've got nothing in the passing game. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went for a receiver. Also, wouldn't surprise me if they went for an edge, because Calais Campbell has been pretty much the best defensive end at this point, and we all know how old he is. They really could go anyway. So really, I'm thinking either receiver, quarterback, or edge. What do we think?
Are you going to get the value at quarterback would be my concern. And if the Arthur Smith, are they going to throw the ball to a receiver? I know it sounds blasé, but it's true. Are they going to get enough out of a receiver to draft them that? So if it was me, I would go edge, but it's your team, it's your pick.
Oh, that's a cop out.
That's an absolute cop out.
Says the one who's trying to cop out in the first place.
I keep going. I think if they were to go quarterback, I think they will be in the market for a veteran, because Arthur Smith will be well and truly on the hot seat, and so you get a recognized name. So I'd still keep going back to, would not be shocked if it's Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I'm gonna go edge, and I'm gonna go Liatu Latu, who is probably the top edge on the board for us at this point. We really like him. We raved about him in the summer as well. He is being ultra productive again this season and comes with plenty of experience. So I think he's not someone really that you're going to have to worry about, or he's going to be ready in 2 or 3 years' time. He can come and make an impact on the Falcons defense. Now, Falcons defense has been decent. It would get even better if they had Latu.
Nice. Well done there for sticking in and picking a wine. Good man. Which means we're at number 13 on Looking for Some. Stu, Cardinals, originally from the Texans. What are you going to
do? Again, it's getting to this point in the draft, isn't it? It becomes really difficult to decide what's the best thing to do. I think the Cardinals have lots of needs. They've been a bit better than we thought they were going to be. They've not been a pushover, but a position that they have really struggled at for quite a long time, I think, is at corner. And I think this is the right range to start looking at the cornerbacks here. And there is a few. It's down to probably 2 for me. And I'm going to go for the guy that I have slightly rated higher, and that's Kalen King, the cornerback from Penn State. I did think about Kool-Aid McKinstry, obviously, is a guy who people are high on. Cooper DeJean's not far behind them either. But for me, the guy that's highest on my board at the moment would be Kalen King. So I think corner 13 for the Cardinals. I think they've got someone on the first 2 picks. They've got someone on the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, and some of the high coveted positions. So I think they would be reasonably happy if that was the outcome for them.
They're in a position to just get best player available, aren't they? And so if they like King, then go ahead and do it. But I don't think you could go wrong picking anything here.
Which is back around me to the last Vegas Raiders, picking 14. And yeah, I'm just going to stick picking of an Alabama player. Why not? I'm going Kool-Aid McKinstry. Not just a Kool-Aid name, but a bit of a need for the Raiders. Yeah, another team that if they were picking earlier, they'd like a quarterback. But let's not keep talking about quarterback. So yeah, nice cornerback for them. That should help their defense, and we'll see how they get on.
Sounds like Mayock and Gruden are back in Vegas. Just I picked the big school boys. Yeah, that'll do. big school boys. Alabama. Yeah, fire on. Sounds like
not
Brian's,
quite. They pick a big school, but
yeah, Brian sounds like he's drafting like them.
They've got to look at quarterback at some point, though.
Yeah.
At what point do they answer it? And say 14, they're in the kind of middle of the road there, whereas there's quarterbacks on the board. It's just whether they like them that much. And then do you attack one later on? At the moment, Brian Hoyer's their quarterback, so that you're not going to get very far there. So that at some point, I probably would have gone quarterback there, but Jimmy G, he's just what else is there to say?
If they get worse throughout the season, which I think they will, I don't think they'll pick as highly as 14. I think that then if Chicago has 2 picks that high, are they in one of this group of teams who might be looking to strike a wee deal with Chicago?
They're in 10 of them though.
Yeah, they're in a different they're in a different conference.
Yeah.
They potentially, if things goes, I think they might be in Raiders are picking higher. The Bears might not have to drop far very back if they decide that they want to go ahead. Even if they take a quarterback at 1, the second pick they could drop to 4 or 5 and pick up more assets to build as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Vegas thought, could we do something here? But again, yeah, you've got another 5, 6, 7 teams who might think the same. So it depends. It depends where they actually end up. If they end up picking at 14, where they are at the moment, they're going to be out of that strike range for that, I would think. But if they're drafting 4, 5, 6, they might well be within that conversation.
Absolutely. All right. Picking 15, it's the Colts, and it's you, Owen.
I'm edging towards corner, which has been again need forever. With Juju Brents has been decent this season, but I think they need to add more on the perimeter. But I think the more pressing need for them is to get another weapon for Anthony Richardson. He's done for the season, so who knows where this pick will end up going, but they need someone else for him to be able to throw the ball to. So I'm going to go for the next receiver on my board. So that would be Malik Neighbors, the receiver from LSU. So that's who I'm going to take for Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts, sadly, we hear Anthony Richardson today is going to be out for the year. So when he comes back, the wide receivers don't really excite you at the moment. I mean, the good, Pittman's a good receiver. Alec Pierce is kind of flattered to deceive a little bit, so they don't have that excitement factor. So Malik Neighbors, if he's the guy who's the highest on your wide receiver board, it's certainly a position of need. Makes sense to me too.
Yeah, Alec Pierce is injured as well. I don't know how long he's out for. So really, you're just looking at Pittman and Downs, and that isn't going to be enough for a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, Downs are nice probably in the slot when you're looking if they were to bring Neighbors, but you need to just build out that wide receiver room.
16 next, the Washington Commanders. Stu, who do you fancy?
Don't know is the answer there. Are they going to, again, we think about quarterback, are they going to roll with Sam Howell? I think he's been actually okay. He's been obliterated with sacks, but I think some of that's on him, but not all of it. But the offensive line guys that I really want to get in there to help him are gone really at this stage. We're thinking about off defensive line. They like to stack the defensive line. They've got so many guys who are first round picks, but the contract situations, we don't know what's happening with Chase Young. Montez Sweat is good, but again, we don't know kind of where he's at with things as well. I think he did sign a new deal at one point, but I can't honestly remember. I would need to look that up. So given what they like to do, I think that I'm going to go Chop Robinson, edge from Penn State. I find this a really difficult team to draft for. I mean, again, could have thought a wide receiver, but no, I'm not going to go at this point. I think maybe later on for them. So I'm going to go for our man Chop Robinson, edge from Penn State.
It feels like they've been difficult to draft for ever since we started doing this. That every year it's almost like they're always around this mark, aren't they? They're 14, 15, 16, something like that. And then they'll go in some weird direction where they take Jamin Davis in the first round, and then they took Emmanuel Forbes. They are a very strange team to guess and a very difficult team to draft for.
Again, might be a new regime there totally at Washington, so it could be absolutely anything happens.
Yeah.
Right, it is myself next, 17 with the Jets. Oh, it could have been, eh? If poor old Aaron Rodgers hadn't injured himself, but he's back throwing, so we'll see. Exactly, yeah. What a change of events that would be. But yeah, that's all going to happen again in it over the summer. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers, great. Oh yeah, ooh, here he is, the saviour. So what did the Jets do in the draft? I sort of think, I know you've said that the wide receivers aren't, no one's jumping out at you at the moment, but I sort of think I look at their receiver room and Garrett Wilson's class, and then you've got,
Aaron Rodgers, homeboys,
basically, yeah. But Maye, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, they're not setting the world alight, are they? Randall Cobb's getting on a bit, if I recall. So, yeah, I'm going to go receiver. I'm going to go Igbokwe from Ohio State. Like you say, I think a lot of change in the second half of the college season. Who sort of stands out, but I think that's a bit of a need. And I think if there's a lot of pressure in this year going in for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and obviously all the hype of what's going to happen, and it's all going to start over again. And I think giving him a wide receiver in the first round, which the Packers never did, will be a nice treat for him. So let's see how it goes. We'll never hear the end of it. 18 Bengals. O-line. It's over to you.
Yeah, I would have loved Brock Bowers here. I was a little bit fuming when he went before. I was like, this Brock Bowers for the Bengals. It's chef's kiss. It's perfect. But what sticks out to me most is, do they renew the contract of T. Higgins? And if they do, it's going to cost them an awful lot of money.
Yeah, I know you're going to go here.
I'm going to presume that they don't, and I'm going to give them a receiver. And I think they would be over the moon that there's a guy here who would fit perfectly with them and perfect opposite Jamar Chase, and that is Keon Coleman from Florida State, who I honestly think could go much higher than this when we reach the actual draft.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to lose T. Higgins, who better to replace him than Keon Coleman? It's not an absolute like for like, but that seems stylistically big, tall, jump ball. I hate that phrase as well, because they're more than that. But people know what you're talking about when you talk about jump ball receivers. If you're going to lose one, get a cheaper option who's probably going to give you the same style of play as well, and then use your capital elsewhere. It would be a really good move for the Bengals if that's the way that it was to fall, if they decide that T. Higgins, while paying Chase and Burrow, is just too expensive.
Next, the Rams. Stu, who do you fancy? You muted, mate, after just talking.
That's always
it's a shame, because you always make your best points on mute.
I get so excited as well. That's just the problem. I mean, yeah, the Rams have been, again, one of these teams who are a bit spicy and a bit better than you thought they might be. But you just want to get good players in the door for the LA Rams. You could really go most positions, if I'm honest, with them. And, it's a really difficult choice where to go. I think one of the weakest points might be at corner. So let's go Cooper DeJean, cornerback from Iowa. I think that he's someone who could make an immediate day one impact for the Rams. The depth chart is not the sexiest when you look at it. They've got Darion Kendrick and Akello Witherspoon at the moment. I don't think that any of them two, as well as they've done, I don't think that they stop you drafting a corner. So I'm going to go for Cooper DeJean, the cornerback from Iowa State.
Good stuff. Just had a quick look, thought I'd check it out. The last time the Rams actually picked in the first round with Jared Goff, 2016. Bloody hell. That'll be 8 years since that, so this will be nice. That'll be a nice treat for them. Up next is me at pick 20 with the Buccaneers. Another team, I mean, it's pretty much half the teams in it that would like to look at quarterback, but a little bit out of the range, or maybe they're not. Let's see.
I think if they could get a quarterback at 20, they would be absolutely over the moon.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know. You guys don't want me. Who do you think I'm probably going to go quarterback. I think. Who should they take?
Yeah, I would go quarterback because Baker Mayfield's been okay, hasn't he? But he's then going to want paid more than the $4 million he's getting this season, and that becomes a problem because they've got Tristan Wirfs to pay. They've got the receiver. So I would go quarterback. Really, it's just your pick of which one. Out of the ones that are left, I think probably JJ McCarthy has the chance of going the highest, but they could play it safe and go Bo Nix, or I mean Quinn Ewers is there as well. There's plenty of players, quarterbacks that are available that could go in the first round.
Of all the ones that I think that would be exciting would be Cam Ward, but I think it might just be a bit early. But some teams are really high on him as well, so we're not really helping you, Brian, I'm afraid.
No, you're not. Well, I'll go JJ McCarthy. No offense to you. So Buccaneers get a quarterback, and which means we are now on 21. The Texans, which was the Browns, and now it's yours, Owen. Who do you fancy?
Again, I think they could go best player available here, and there's plenty. I think they've got needs along the defensive line. I think they've got needs at receiver as well. I'm tempted by a receiver, which I think is what I'm going to do. It's just a matter of which one you go for. They've got Tank Dell, Nico Collins has been decent, Robert Woods as well, but we need more weapons because CJ Stroud has been outstanding. So let's keep helping him out. They would have liked one of the guys that have gone before to have fallen. But I think a guy like Rome Odunze from Washington would be someone that they would like because he's got a slightly different skill set to the others that are there. So I would go Rome Odunze from Washington, who's been outstanding this season. He can do a bit of everything. It's just his body control is great. So I think he'd be a really good option for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he was excellent in that game against Oregon recently as well. And you mentioned about the body control, the ability to be elusive, and his footwork just on the lines as well is just as impressive as his ability to catch and run with the ball. So yeah, I think that would be a really good pick. CJ Stroud has exceeded even my expectations. I thought he was going to be a very good player. So why not load up and just keep helping him, just keep going with more weapons, and there is things that they can do in defense, I think, probably later on as well to shore up that side of the ball.
Which leads us, don't mute, Stu. Okay, it's you. Okay. Number 22, the Seahawks. Take it away.
Looking at how many running backs are still on the board for the Seahawks, but I'm not going to do that. I think that the Seahawks have drafted enough running backs for some of our friends to never speak to us again if we give them another running back. So I think they continue to build on the defensive side of the ball at the moment. And for me, I'm going to pick someone from the defensive interior to give them a bit of help getting after the pass. And I'm going to go for Leonard Taylor, the defensive tackle from Miami. I think that he gives them an interior presence. He gives them an interior pass rush as well, which I think that the Seahawks have lacked for a little bit. I don't know if there's any of that outside pass rushes. I'm just quite sold on that, still on the board as yet. So Leonard Taylor, the defensive tackle from Miami, for me at 22.
Which means it is me at 23. The Steelers. Oh, don't look at Steelers. I don't know if they're picking this late, but We shall see.
They find a way to finish.
Yeah, they do. It could be. Yeah, they finish better than 500. That's what they do. I don't know. When I think of Steelers, I think they need some offensive line help. I mean, they took Broderick Jones last year, but other than that, the lines they've not invested much there. So maybe it's time they do. Give me some guidance, guys. Who do we fancy offensive line, or anyone else jumping out? Could we see a first sort of guard go now?
I think it's too early for interior offensive line, definitely in this class. I don't think we've got anyone who's so special that we're going to go there. Looking at the lineup, they're not a wonderfully talented team, the Steelers, at a lot of positions. I think that offensive line, if we had tackles there, certainly would be somewhere that we'd look at. We've got Broderick Jones potentially on one side for the future, but there's nothing really else, I think. The defensive line, potentially, I mean, they have obviously TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith rushing the passer, but Ogunjobi's just come over, and DeMarvin Leal's listed as a starter these days as well. Could they improve their corner? I think is a big need for them as well, but we've snatched the top three corners, I think, personally. There's some options there. Brian, I don't know if that helps you out very much. There's probably one player I would think about there. Well, two really is corners potentially, but yeah, that's probably my limit. I don't know about you, Ian. What you'd be thinking?
I would be thinking corner.
Yeah, there's two names for me, but one I think.
Yeah, you would. They could well go offensive line, and that would be perfectly acceptable, and wouldn't surprise me even if they went for someone like Jazon Newton in the middle of the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at that division, and you need corners. So
yeah.
The standout guy would be Nate Wiggins for me.
Yeah, and the other one I would have in that conversation potentially is Denzel Burke.
I'm not so sold on him.
But I have Wiggins higher, so if you're looking for a higher corner, it's Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins, it is. There we go.
We convinced you.
Yeah, especially when honestly, look across the division, it's like, yeah, your corners. Never bad to load up on corners there, is it? 24, which we have as the Bills. Picking for my Cowboys, I like that. Yep, Owen, who do you fancy?
There's a lot that could be done here for the Bills. I think they could look at corner because they've been absolutely decimated this season at corner. But
their first round pick's been a healthy scratch as well. Kyrie Elam, did they like him that much? Doesn't sound like it.
I think it would be too high for the next corner for me and for my board. Does Jordan Poyer return at safety? There's a safety that I really like in Cam Kinchins who would be a great replacement. I think they've got problems on the right side of the offensive line. The guy that was really athletic that ended up going there a couple of seasons ago.
Brown.
Sorry, Stu?
That's Spencer Brown.
Spencer Brown, yeah, that's it. Thank you. That's what we're here to help each other out. I don't think he's looked great, so I'm tempted by tackle as well. And there's a tackle sat there in Amarius Mims, who would be a direct replacement at right tackle. So I think that's what I'm going to do because I think that makes the most sense for them at the moment. I'm really tempted by safety because I love Cam Kinchins and I think he would be a fantastic pick for them. But you've got to protect your asset, and so I would go for Amarius Mims, and he can slot straight in at right tackle.
Like it. 25. Oh, I thought they'd be picking 32. Oh, here we go. Anyway, it's the Cowboys. Stu.
Tricky one. I think the Cowboys. There's a few kind of things I'm thinking about. I'm wondering how you can help out CeeDee Lamb as a wide receiver. I think that he needs a bit more help than he's getting. I think he's a really good route runner. He runs from different positions. The cornerbacks have sorted. I think they've got a good cornerback group. The defensive line, I think, is pretty okay. Offensive line, we could, they've had some injuries there. Could we go offensive line? But Linus snatched Amarius Mims there. So let's go back to my original thought and let's go receiver. And I'm going to go for someone to stretch the field. I'm going to go for Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon. I think that he would give their offense another dimension. He'd really stretch the field out for them, allow CeeDee Lamb to maybe work in some shorter mid kind of area and open up that run game as well when they've got to worry about him stretching the field. So let's go Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon.
I love that. I'll 100% go receiver. There would be no doubt in my mind that I would go receiver here. And any of them, to be fair, there's a bunch of them left. But yeah, I would have gone Franklin. I really like him. AD Mitchell, I think, would have been great there as well. There's a bunch of them that are really good.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, I'll take that. It's me next with 26 of Jags. Having a nice season. I mean, looking at their roster, they're pretty loaded, aren't they? Yeah, you look at the receivers, offensive line. So I'm thinking defense. Again, not looking too bad there. So who do we have? Maybe. Yeah, I think interior defensive line. I'm thinking about. And I'm gonna go. I don't know, guys. Who do you like? Interior defensive line. I'll ask the experts.
I would the guy Jason Newton, but I would really like to pick him for the Ravens. So feel free to leave him. But yeah, in terms of there's a name standing out there. Just overall prospects, he's the best player left on the board. He's brilliant.
Stop laughing at me, guys. I'm saying all the worst stuff, so you're going to get the good stuff. Yeah, Johnny Newton, as he's sometimes called, you might see that might confuse people when they're looking at draft. Some people call him Johnny Newton, but Jerzan Newton is the official name for this player from Illinois. The only other, I think I'm not even going to say the only other. I think he is the defensive tackle. If that's where you want to go, Brian, I would agree with Owen. Let's go with him.
That's exactly where I'm going. Sorry, Owen, but you're right. It is you next with the Ravens. The pick 27. Sorry. So think fast.
Yeah, I might ask for some input on this. So I will just stop pressing the mute button, Stu, because I will be throwing it. I would love to take a corner, but which is the real issue, because I don't know if I'm on the Denzel Burke wagon, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan. And yeah, I would have liked to have taken Jason Newton there. What do you think?
If you're not sold on a corner, don't take one. It would be my advice. If you don't love him, the corner is such a position that if the play flames out, they flame out pretty badly. What have you got left? What have we got in there? I wasn't expecting you to ask me about these Ravens. So let's have a look at I'm going to have a look at the depth chart and let's see where they could do with a bit of help.
I think if they do look at the interior, Mason Smith is an option, absolutely, because he's athletic, but he just hasn't taken that step from a couple of seasons ago, and everyone thought this would be the season, but I don't think he's been hugely impactful at all. And he was obviously suspended for a bit. So he could be their type because of how athletic he is.
What about?
I know.
I've got an option for you.
Chris Jenkins.
No, I was thinking a totally different position, but
okay.
Let's go. Thinking about, because the edge depth is rubbish at the moment. They've got Odafe Owe, who really hasn't made an impact, really. My man David Ojabo's injured again. Jadeveon Clowney's kicking around there. What about Braylon Trice?
Yeah, I like Braylon Trice.
He's a big unit of a guy. The Ravens might quite like just someone different stylistically on that edge, because they've got a lot of these leaner, quicker guys. He is that good 270 kind of size. Isn't the quickest guy, but you would set the edge on the run really nicely. And the play against in that division, you're playing against the likes of the Browns, the Steelers, who are going to run the ball down your throat when they get the opportunity. Just someone I would have maybe had to think about.
I'm thinking, but I think I prefer the interior, just because it's.
Of course you do.
They were playing with Madubuke and Michael Pierce mainly, right?
Michael Pierce has been around for about 300 years, hasn't he?
And Travis Jones hasn't taken the step from when he was drafted. So I'm going to go with the interior. It's just a matter of which one. And
there's a couple.
There is. There's plenty of choice. Going through them, Mason Smith is an athletic freak, really. Michael Hall, I like. He's a little bit undersized though. Ruka Horo is really good against the run, but so is Chris Jenkins. So I'm going to take Chris Jenkins, the defensive tackle for Michigan.
We hate to help each other out and just totally ignore each other.
Well,
yeah, giving you options, clarifying your thoughts.
Absolutely. It's good. Rather than just being like, as we pick, here's some options, which is what we like. Stuart at 28, the Detroit Lions.
The 5-1 Detroit Lions. They are absolutely flying at the moment, and good luck to them, because Detroit have been dreadful for a long time. It depends on what happens with Jameson Williams over the next little bit, because if he comes good, I think that him and Amon-Ra St. Brown could be a nice tandem there as well. So they've got a really good offensive line. I don't think that they're going to move anything on from Jared Goff for a while, because I think he's played more than effectively enough for them. We've always thought, he's just going to be that placeholder, but he's become longer than a placeholder from then.
Yep.
So I'm not going to rush for quarterback. I'd like someone to maybe help out Aiden Hutchinson a little bit on pass rush, but
are the corners? I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know. I've not got the information in front of me, but are some of the corners only signed for the season?
They do. They've got Cam Sutton, and they've got my favourite corner from last year, Brian Branch, still kicking around.
Yeah. He's been exceptional.
Yeah. Corners, I just don't know who I like at corner enough. I like TJ Tampa. He's a decent kind of pro, but I don't think he's a day one player. Let's go and make them really multiple in the back end. Let's go Cam Kinchins. From Miami. He's a safety. It gives them a lot of flexibility with him. They would have then Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. They could play a variety of formations behind there. I think he's someone who's worthy of a round one selection.
100%.
He has that kind of attitude, I think, that Dan Campbell would like in Detroit. So yeah, let's go Cam Kinchins, a safety from Miami.
I like that. I'm glad we got him in there. He would be If I was doing a big board now, he would be a top 20 player in the
Yeah.
draft. He's really, really good.
It's just that positional value, isn't it? You see these guys drop a little bit for, but yeah, I think we get him in there.
All right, it's back to me at 29 with the Dolphins. And they're just going the fastest receiver, aren't they? Surely that's just what they're going to do. Or they've probably got enough of them. And when looking at the Dolphins, I'm thinking, yeah, electric offense. If they can keep all that together, then leave that be. Maybe defense, maybe defensive front. I'm thinking I am edging towards. Yeah, I'm going Mason Smith, defensive tackle from LSU.
Wow.
Look, he's there. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think if that happened on draft night, Stu might leave.
No, I won't leave. I'll be hammered by then. We'll get home.
Off to bed, definitely off to bed.
Yeah,
I think offensive tackle's absolutely screaming at you.
Yeah, offensive tackle is where I really wanted to go, but there's a few other positions. And yeah, my choice would have been Graham Barton from Duke. In the fact that you could play him as a tackle, but you can also kick him inside as well. Which is, to be honest, Isaiah Wynn has done really well, but he's got an unreliable history of injuries. We're currently starting Kendall Lamb at left tackle. Austin Jackson still hasn't really. I think you could find a way to get Graham Barton into that lineup. That would have been my choice, or a linebacker. But I would have maybe considered Barrett Carter at that point. But Graham Barton would have been my pick.
If there's a linebacker, it would have to be Barrett Carter. I think he's probably the only one who's got a chance going in the first.
But nah, I won't leave you guys if that's a pick, honestly.
But at that point, I don't think we'd notice. So it's all right. I like how Graham Barton sounds like someone you work with, doesn't he? Like a sort of older.
Sounds like a good guy, though, Graham Barton.
Yeah, he is. Oh, you know Graham Barton. Graham Barton from logistics. Oh, yeah. He's down.
But he's a very good player. So let's not slander him too much.
No, of course not. Couldn't never say that about Graham Barton. 30, we have the 49ers. Back to you, Owen.
Yeah, what do you give a team that's got everything? I guess. I'm going to go on the offensive line as we've just been talking. Then, Colton McKivitz at right tackle has been good enough, but I don't think he stops you upgrading. And I think it showed against the Browns that if Trent Williams goes down on the left side, then things go downhill massively. So I'm going to go on the offensive line, and I'm going to take Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle from Arizona, because I think where he specializes is in the run game, and I think that's where the 49ers could really use him. So yeah, so Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona.
I think he's really good out in space. And that is
exactly.
a dream for the likes of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. I think that's a very sensible pick for them. As I say, Trent Williams ain't getting any younger either, is he? What's he? 35 now, something like that. And if once the injuries start mounting up, he's been unreal for them. But I think that makes a sensible investment at a premium position in the first round.
31, we're very nearly there. The Chiefs, apparently they lose to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Stu, are you picking?
Yeah, Chiefs. I've had all day to think about this since the launch, and I still don't know. So I'm revisiting their depth chart again. Who do I want for them? Ideally, the wide receiver still looks at me again. I'm still just not convinced by that group at all. I think with any other quarterback and Mahomes and out with Travis Swift, we don't have an option for them. But who would I pick as that wide receiver? Let's give them A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas. I think that he's a really tall guy who can take at the catch point. He's not going to be the most wide open guy in the world, but when you've got Mahomes, you don't need the most wide open guy in the world. He can find these players. So making the Chiefs more dangerous, A.D. Mitchell from Texas would be where I would go with this pick.
Good stuff. All right, with the final pick of the draft, it's myself picking the Eagles. Means you've won the Super Bowl. Right. Again, I think obviously at this point in the draft, you're obviously a very, very good team. What do you think? I'm leaning towards offensive line just because they've got a few older guys. Is Kelsey still going to be there? What are the who else? Lane Johnson, people like that, and they love picking on the defensive offensive front with the first round. So, what do you think, guys? Thoughts?
I would load up on the defensive line because, like you said, they are old, and Braylon Trice is staring you in the face. And I think he's a round one caliber player.
Yeah, that's the guy that, again, I brought him up earlier on for the Ravens, and they're the kind of players similar to what the Eagles kind of covet. There's similar, the different teams, different styles, but the kind of attitude and style of players, size. Braylon Trice would be someone that they could mix in and out of that rotation that they do. They like to rotate players depending on situations, and he just adds more and more to what they have there.
There we go, then. We'll call that a consensus and bang it in for our very first mock draft. What do you think, guys? Happy? Relatively. Made it through in one piece. That's the main thing.
There wasn't too much arguing, so I don't know what's going on. It was,
I think the closer we get, the more we learn about these guys. There'll be we never argue. But,
well, we don't.
A few more discussions. But yeah, there we go. Our first mock of many, no doubt. As we get towards the season, of course, there's plenty of football about, college, NFL. Plenty for these players to move themselves up and down the draft boards, and a lot of action to happen before next year's draft. But I think that's us done. Anything to throw out, guys, for our wonderful listeners before we say goodbye?
Let's see your mock drafts. Send us what you think. Send us how bad we've been, how good you're going to be. Let us see them when we put this out on Twitter. Attach your mock drafts. Let us see what you've done. Ask for our opinions, whether we think it's good, whether you think we're rubbish. We want to see what everyone else is doing too. It's quite a lot of fun.
There we go. Little job for you all there before we come back. And we will be back very soon. But that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you soon.